Hi, everybody. I'm Dan McDermott. Welcome to Google Plus Week. Joining me from Camp David is Craig Shipp. Welcome, Craig.
Hello, hello, hello.
Alan may join us at some point. Pam and Cy are in a restaurant eating, and there's literally a 1200 millisecond ping. It was 1206 millisecond ping. So that's a bit slow. So I'm really scraping the bottom of the barrel for guests tonight, Craig. So you really are
I
taking one
heard
for the
that you were
team.
trying for ratings tonight,
Yeah.
but I mean, talk about a desperate attempt.
Anyway, I did before we get we'll do the regular stuff in a second, but I did want to say one thing, and I wanted to briefly talk about the horrific shooting that occurred during a live broadcast on WDBJ 7, a Roanoke, Virginia station that I know well. I used to work in radio in Lynchburg in the late 1980s. More recently, I owned the free newspaper in Lynchburg, the Lynchburg Times. WDBJ was my local CBS affiliate. I may have met some of the victims of the shooting, but I don't think I did, and I did not know them. But WDBJ has, for 50 years, been considered one of the best news outlets in the country. They are really a quality organization. How this lunatic managed to get a job there is just mind-boggling. Apparently, the shooter was constantly imagining offenses against him, accusing everyone around him of racism. One colleague used the term out in the field, like a team is out in the field, and the shooter said that was racist and assumed it was a reference to a cotton field. He said 7-Eleven was racist for selling watermelon Slurpees. The sheriff's department put out a thing today saying that he identified with the 9/11 hijackers and various mass shooters. This guy was clearly a nut job. A lot of folks are using this incident as an example of the need for more gun control. The father of one of the victims noted that had the entire crew been wearing AK-47s, it would not have mattered. That is true. The crew was using a bright white box light, and the shooter walked up and stood right next to the light. So the three victims could not see him at all. All that said, the chances of getting a constitutional amendment passed to change the Second Amendment are zero. So it is a moot point. It's probably a very good time to be in the security guard business, frankly. The station's general manager said that the shooter's references were all positive, but lamented that it is hard to get any references at all because many companies have a strict rule against saying anything beyond basically your name, rank, and serial number. For fear of being sued by a prospective employee for giving a negative reference, or the inverse, being sued by a company for giving a positive reference for an employee who didn't work out. Only the lawyers win, and you end up hiring crazy people due to a lack of available information. Craig, I know you wanted to talk about politics briefly before we get into tech stuff, but do you have any thoughts on this? I don't know what you do. This guy he bought the gun legally, he passed the background check. He was not like judged to be insane, apparently, by legally by the state or whatever. I don't know what you do.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Okay, so yeah, I have a comment on it because you mentioned it's a good time to be in the security business, and a friend of mine, I was in the middle of a conversation with him today, and he mentioned that he doesn't want to go anywhere. He doesn't want to go out to the movies. He doesn't want to go out to a restaurant, for fear that he might be shot. So, yeah, I want to bring a little bit of perspective into the conversation. You're much more likely to die on the way to the theater in a car crash than you are in the theater. So the odds of you getting shot in these United States of America, unless you hang out in Detroit and deal drugs, is extremely, extremely small. There are about 24 ways you could die that would be much more likely. Of course, one of which is in the car. One of which is being struck by lightning. A lot of ways, right? So I just think that people need to get on with their lives and realize that there are nutcases out there. And this, of course, goes to the affirmative action and all of that, that you have to hire somebody because you have to make quotas instead of hiring the best person for the job. I always thought that that was a bad idea. And I think most employers think that it's a bad idea to hire somebody for any reason other than the fact that they can get the job done. And so I think that's what makes a lot of people find Trump very interesting because he's basically coming right out and saying all this political correctness stuff has to be thrown out the window, and we have to get back to doing business the way businesses do business, and that is trying to make money, trying to do the best thing for your company, hiring the right people because they can do the job, getting rid of people who can't do the job, and that whether that be in government or private enterprise, and getting back to the basics of what made this country great. I think that's why a lot of people are interested to hear some of the things he has to say. And I'm sitting by and watching the show, and I know you're watching the show, and it's pretty amazing.
It's someone early on said that this election will be taught in history books, because really we haven't seen anything remotely close to this. Since I guess Ross Perot, right? That was kind of the last. I'm losing.
By the
my
way,
mic
what
here.
happened to your other microphone while you're fooling with this one?
The thing broke. A part broke, and Shore said I got to send it in. It's $150, and I've just procrastinated. I got to do it. But I've had the thing for like 10 years, or 15 years, I forget.
So the
Maybe
mount
20 years.
broke.
Yeah, it finally snapped. Like
Stock mount.
where this part busted, the clip broke, right, twisting it,
Mhm.
and I cannot remove the clip. The clip screws on the base of the mic and it won't come off. But it's 20 years old. I've used it and it sounds great like the day I bought it. 20 years later, so it's worth fixing. It's about I don't know, $650 mic or $700, something like that. It's a good, medium diaphragm or large diaphragm, whatever it is, mic. So this I'm using. This is the TV mic, right? The long one. So
Yeah.
it's okay,
Yeah.
but it's not as good. So anyway, all right. So Trump is really funny, and it's really interesting, and clearly he's brought issues that are being discussed now solely because he brought them up, that would not otherwise be discussed. After the Romney campaign, there was this, general consensus. Nobody should talk about immigration because they're afraid they're going to lose the Latino vote, and Trump is not abiding by that policy of not talking about him. So
say
it's
the
really
least.
interesting, to see. So I'm enjoying like you said, it's a great show. I'm enjoying watching it, and it's got great ratings. Nobody had this many people at events, or there was, this much attention paid at that time. Literally entire hours of CNN, maybe like 80% Trump. There was a joke. Someone was complaining that there wasn't enough Trump coverage in the Post because there was no mention of Donald Trump on the weather page. That was funny. Some journalist shared that.
I actually saw a post with Donald Trump's hair like blowing up almost
Uh-huh.
straight up, and it was a reference to the hurricane. So they are trying to do that too.
Yeah. We'll get back to the hurricane in a moment, but first, Donald Trump said something today. Okay, so YouTube Gaming has arrived, and it's gaming.youtube.com. It's their answer to Twitch, which is the site that is the leading site for these kids and young adults to share their gameplay. And I went on there today, and one had like 157,000 viewers live. I mean, that is
On YouTube.
on Twitch. No, the most I've
Oh.
seen on YouTube was like 2,000, 3,000 on YouTube Live,
Okay.
or on the new gaming thing. So clearly Twitch is still the incumbent. But I've heard some, but that's a lot. I mean, 157,000 live viewers, presumably, young, right? Because you're
Mhm.
watching someone play a video game. I mean, I doubt there's any television show on a cable channel that has 157,000 of the perfect demo, right? They're all trying to get that the young demo.
Mhm.
The kids who haven't decided that they're going to wear Old Spice or Axe or whatever, and what deodorant they're going to use and all that stuff. So it's incredible. I mean, for a cable channel, 157 would probably beat MSNBC.
Can you explain to me what this is all about? Because I'm not a gamer. I've never done any gaming, and I have no idea how Twitch works. First of all, why would somebody want to watch somebody else play a game?
I guess it's the equivalent of you and me watching Boris Becker or Tiger Woods. Becker win
So are
Wimbledon
they
or
watching somebody that is
is
like real
yes,
good at it or something? Is that
yes,
the idea?
yes. They're getting
So they're trying to.
insights. They might be watching someone who's really good and who's advancing in the game where they want to get to that level and they can't, and they're seeing how the
Okay.
pro does it, right? They might be interesting
Now, do they
commentary.
see when they watch that? Do they see the person, or do they just see their gameplay?
Either or they see sometimes there's some just talk shows. They're just talking about it. Um, and sometimes you're seeing the gameplay, and sometimes you're seeing the gameplay with a thumbnail on the bottom. I think
Of the
the guy,
person?
is it PewDiePie or whatever the hell's, I don't know. I don't. We're not in that demo. We're not into that. But so we're at the risk of sounding like Dan Rather or Walter Cronkite trying to describe the internet is a new network, a series of tubes,
So you're not a gamer either.
I'm not currently a gamer.
Okay.
I wrote a game once, but
Well, maybe you've got a viewer that's actually a gamer that can come on and explain how all this works.
we'll see if anyone has thoughts on this Twitch versus but
Because I heard that the YouTube thing that they're rolling out has some real advantages. I read an article about it, and that there's some real advantages to it over Twitch, and that it has a real shot at overthrowing Twitch.
yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see.
I've heard that there's a DVR function which you can, if you're watching this program live, you notice that you can watch it as it's being broadcast. You can pause it and resume it. You can go to the very beginning, or you can click to any point in the show up till now. Twitch does not have that, so that's a pro. A con is that there's a lag. One guy noticed on the article I shared about this story. I went to the comments on the Wired magazine, and there were some folks. One guy was a Twitch broadcaster and a viewer, right? So he saw it from both sides. He said the UI is nice, that the DVR thing's great. I think there's 60 frames a second on YouTube. I don't think that's on Twitch, but they said that the lag is there, and
Twitch uses Flash also, right?
I don't know the answer to that
I
question.
think it does. I think that the YouTube thing uses HTML5, and I think Twitch uses Flash still. So it's a real resource hog too. Anyway, it'd be interesting
yeah,
if
we'll
some
see.
people could come in and chime in on that. But
We'll
see.
get some more. Yeah, we'll get some more. We'll get a better perspective in the over the week as I get to see more reviews, because I don't know. So one of the things I wanted to talk about the iPhone 6, because their rumor is, and this is kind of tied into YouTube Live, and the gaming.youtube is, it's all that stuff is still on regular YouTube, right? It's just a UI that highlights the gaming. Like if they did politics.youtube.com and it was just all the videos about politics and people live streaming with political talk shows. It's kind of the same, if they did something like that.
Yeah.
And so we've discussed the possibility or the idea of would there be a 4K YouTube Live capability, because YouTube Live has gone up. Now there's 60 frames a second. You can do up to 1080p. And if you have the right upload bandwidth and the right equipment, you can really look very good. I've seen some stuff like rock concerts, Coachella, things like that look fantastic. Not as good as broadcast, because the bandwidth that peaks out, I think at 6,000 megabits per second is the maximum you can upload to YouTube Live for 1080p. 4,000 is the max you can upload for 720p. And that's what I broadcast this show at 720p. Mainly because my computer hardware won't support 1080, and the Hangout is only 720. So when I bring you guys in, it would just stretch you out. There would be no point. But if 4K streaming becomes a thing, that would be epic for us, because we're both, you are already in the 4K world, and I'm considering getting this Panasonic camera that's a news gathering type prosumer. I would say it's $4,200 street price. It has XLR inputs and stuff. It's a nice camera. You're also intrigued with it. So this gets to this iPhone 6, the rumored 6S, which will have a 12 megapixel camera in the front, 4K. This is a rumor, right? So we don't know, but the rumors are. I guess this is from a fairly reputable site with a good history. 4K video recording, flash for a flash on the front of the camera for selfies, and which is a huge thing now. The kids
Yeah,
are
I
all,
think if they do that, it'll just be the screen turning on, just the screen turning on white.
oh, while you
If,
take the picture, okay.
yeah,
What do
that'd be
you
my guess
think?
if they do that.
What do you think about the camera, about the iPhone 6s in general? But do you think? I've always thought when go into Walmart and I see 4K televisions, it'll be a thing. And if people can start taking videos on their iPhone, and it's already on some Android phones, has been since the beginning of 2014. If they can, and someone told me that the camera on the iPhone, an expert said, in their opinion, for still photos, the iPhone 6 still is the best camera on any phone, but that for video, there are some Android phones that are doing 4K and doing it well. And so he had to give the
That'd be
nod to some of those. But what do you think? Do you see, what's your view of the current state of 4K, and what do you think about this phone, the 6S, if this rumor is true? And do you think there's a prospect in the near term, within a year or so, we might be able to actually stream 4K on YouTube Live?
Okay, so 4K, I think that anybody that's shooting video that is of any importance to them or to somebody else should be shooting it in 4K now.
And the reason is?
It is, the way I've described it is, it's what we should have been shooting video in all along. It's finally gotten good enough to where if you put it on a decent sized monitor, it's nice and sharp. It just really looks good. Whereas if you put a 1080p clip up on a fairly good sized monitor, and for example, you stop the frame, you stop it from playing, you're looking at a still frame, it looks like a stopped video. It just looks soft. Whereas with 4K, if you don't have a lot of motion blur in the shot and you stop the frame, it literally looks like you have a photograph on your monitor. It's night and day how much clearer and how much more detail you have in the shot, because we're going from 2 megapixels to more than 8 megapixels. I think it's 8.3 or something for 4K. So it's literally 4 times the number of pixels for each frame. And so 2 megapixels for a photograph really is not enough. I'm not a megapixel fan where you need the more the better, right? But 2 is not enough. 8 is okay, right? The 2 just doesn't get it. So if it's something that you want to future-proof, if it's something that's important to you, like your kid taking his first steps or whatever, it should all be shot in 4K. If it's a news story, that's maybe fleeting, boy gets bit by dog or whatever, and it's of importance for a week or two to whoever, then that's not quite as big an issue. But if it's something that you might want to look at 10 years from now for whatever reason, a wedding video, whatever, then in my opinion, it should be shot in 4K. And there are decent 4K cameras that are affordable that you can buy right now. I haven't seen the footage out of the Android phones lately, but the first Android phones that were shooting it, I wasn't real impressed with the quality of the footage. I'm not impressed with I have a Sony Handycam that has a tiny little sensor in it that shoots 4K. I'm not that impressed with that footage. It looks kind of soft to me. But the 2 cameras that I have that have 1-inch sensors in them do a very good job, in my opinion, of 4K. So it's going to be interesting to see what Apple does with the quality of the 4K, that you're going to have a very small sensor in these cell phones. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of quality that they can get out of their 4K. That is really going to be something. If they can get really good looking 4K or even decent looking 4K, it's going to be a lot better than the 1080p that we're shooting now. So, and by the way, if you shoot 4K, you can still export the finished video in 1080p.
I was going to say that even if you are not uploading in 4K or sharing it, like even if you're going to share it on Facebook, one big advantage is the ability to pan and crop video,
Yeah.
which really has never existed before. I guess to some degree you could do it when HD started, but everyone was still SD, and there were just a few HD cameras out. I've seen people fake it. I know one guy I knew was doing an SD show. It was on a cable channel. I think it's actually still SD, but he shoots in HD, and then he can do he does a sit down. He's a one-man band, so he does a sit down where he's sitting here, and the subject of the interview's facing him, and he has his camera out here, and then he shoots it in 1080p, and then he creates 3 separate shots, right? The wide shot
Yep.
of both of them, and then the shot of mainly him, and then a shot of mainly the other guy
Yep.
with one camera. Now, to you and I would detect that immediately, but the average viewer might not. And you can do the
Yep.
same thing now with 4K. And I
Yep.
think, in fact, you've done that. You've done some experimenting in that, right?
Sure, sure. And the Ken Burns effect that you can easily put on it in Final Cut Pro 10 makes it actually look like you have a dolly or tracks. Whoops, I keep bumping my mic. So you can really get some cool effects. And more importantly, you have that 4K footage for later on if you keep it and you back it up. So that, let's say 10 years from now, you're like, oh my gosh, I sure wish that video would have been in 4K. Well, if you've got the original footage, you can go ahead and export it in 4K. And now you've got a 4K version of the video. So you can have your cake and eat it too. You can have a 4K version of the video. You can export it out at 1080p or even 720p. Or if it's a review I'm doing and I need to put it on Amazon, they have a ridiculously, small max file size. So I have to export it in like, some super small size. Then I can do that. I mean, the modern editing software will allow you to export the video in whatever size you want. So you've got that flexibility if your original footage is in 4K.
Okay. So this gets to the next topic, which is kind of related. And that was that the story here, YouTube, as you know, is about to change dramatically. Would you pay to watch? So this is the long rumored, some videos will just be, right now there are some things that are paid, and the only thing I've bought was our mutual friend Sreek mentioned that one of the shows with Anthony Bourdain, not his current one on CNN, but the one, I think it was No Reservations on the Travel Channel, he did an episode in Kerala or somewhere in India, and that's actually where Sreek is from. And so he said I should watch it, and it was behind a paywall, and it was fascinating, because I lived in India, in New Delhi, and I love Indian food, so I found it fascinating, and it was like $3.99 for one episode, or like $10 for the whole season. So I bought the whole season, and it was kind of tied into Google Play Video, so it's kind of weird. I don't know, but if I'm on my Play Store, I've got it as something I've purchased, and if I'm on whatever, I've got it. But now it's on either Netflix or Prime, so I didn't have to buy it except to watch it then. So they also have some paid channels. I think you and I both have that ability now if we wanted to have a monthly fee or charge for certain videos, or monthly fee for all of them. Also, there's a tip button. But none of these things are doing any
Now, are you
serious.
sure you can make one particular video that they have to pay for it? I
I
thought
don't
they
know
would.
that. I don't know that. And I don't think any of these things, because I looked at the Anthony Bourdain, and this was on the actual Travel Channel's page, right, or the official show page, or one of the two, right? And I think it had like 167 views. Now that you can hide that to hide the fact that you're not selling any. If you want.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you can't hide the view count on regular YouTube videos, right?
Correct. But they want to conceal the fact that no one's actually paying to watch these shows.
Oh, boy.
So anyway, the thing is, I don't see that everyone's trying to figure out how to monetize this stuff. I don't see, sometimes when I want to rely, like after this show, I plan on going on Netflix and watching that show that was released today, It's the
About the drug dealers.
yeah, the narco about Pablo
Yeah.
Escobar. I'm really looking
Yeah.
forward to that. I'm gonna sit and
Yeah.
watch that. Sometimes I'll get home and I'll like want to watch a. I'm on a Star Trek Kick or whatever. I think that's on Prime or some stuff on Amazon Prime Video, and I subscribe to HBO Now. I like to watch the Bill Maher show and the other one with the guy who was on the Daily Show, John
How much you
Oliver.
have to pay for that?
That's the most expensive, believe it or not. It's $15 a month, $14.99 a month.
Wow.
Luckily,
Okay.
I'm wealthy, so you know. But
You've
anyway,
got
So,
money. Yeah.
so you say that this is new because I have a video from Chris Pareto from 2011, August 24th, 2011, where he was charging for a particular video.
what this is, they're talking about having a premium layer, sort of like Spotify has a free level and a premium level, right? So they're talking about doing the same thing with YouTube. And my thing
So
is,
this is subscription or
yeah, something like that. And it's
So they're
rumored,
just
right?
gonna promote it. Is that what you're saying? Is that they've had this all along, but now they're just gonna promote
No,
it more?
my intro was too long, I guess. But they've tried various monetization things beyond just advertising, and so now they're this article says that they're going to have a premium level. There'll be like free stuff that has ads in it. There'll be a la carte purchasing things like I did with the Anthony Bourdain series I bought for $10, and then there'll be this premium thing which is ad free and whatever. And I swear to God, I don't. I'll come home and like tonight I'm going to watch Netflix. Sometimes I want to watch Prime or HBO. I've never come home and said, you know what, I'm going to watch some premium YouTube shit. You know what I mean? The only way that
Well, that's because they don't market. They don't promote their stuff. There's a lot of great stuff on YouTube, but they don't promote it like that.
I would disagree with that. There's not what I would call a lot of great stuff. There's no like a whole series like the stuff that I want to watch or quality shows.
Well, it depends on what you're into, Dan. My dad's into the World War II, and he watches all kinds of World War II stuff on there.
Okay.
And he's really into it. And I mean, he'll spend like the whole evening watching World War II videos on YouTube. And every time he finishes watching one, there's 3 or 4 more suggested there.
Yeah, I've done that. That's true.
And so it depends on what you're into.
But would he pay for that? Is it better than the paid content, the
Would
quality?
he pay for that if they did a better job of organizing it and really picking out the good stuff and putting channels together and curating it, I guess is the word I'm trying to use. And that, by the way, would also encourage people to produce some higher quality content and to put it on there if they knew that there was a chance they were going to get added to this premium channel and they were going to get a piece of the pie. But it's just like a lot of things that Google and YouTube do where they take baby steps and they do it halfway and then, you never hear about it again. And it's like the redheaded stepchild.
Well,
So
the problem is despite being the best search engine there is, Google is very bad at finding content. I mean,
exactly.
like when they did that kids network, I assume it's not successful. Like on Netflix and Amazon, they push the hell out of the kids content on their video services, and the fact that YouTube can't get it moving is telling how bad Google is at finding content.
And they tend to make everyone do it like they did with Google Plus. It was a mandatory thing. They famously told people that you had to sign up for this new monetization model or you couldn't monetize at all. So they force everyone to buy into it, but then it seems like Google itself doesn't buy into stuff. They'll shut it down. They won't market it. Google Play Music's a good example. I don't know anybody who uses that.
Yeah, you do.
You use it?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do.
The paid? I mean,
So
the
do I.
Google, the paid one. I mean, do you guys use the paid
Yeah,
tier?
I use
You
Google
do?
Music. Music.google.com.
You,
Which
Yep,
is-
me too.
you both pay for it.
It's kind
Yes.
You know what? Let me tell you something. I'm a huge Spotify fan. I think that
Mhm.
Spotify um, really got the ball moving in the direction that it needed to get moving. Um, but Google Music, in my experience, is so much better at coming up with the suggested radio stations than I mean, like I used Pandora way back in the day, and I use Spotify a lot for suggested radio stations. You know, they're just picking particular songs they think you like. But I think that Google does it so much better than Spotify did,
Hmm.
which is funny because I just said they suck at finding content. But
That's very interesting. Maybe I could be wrong. Do you agree with that, Michael?
I I don't have a basis for comparison to Spotify because I never used it. I didn't start with really very much streaming music until Google Music came out because I wanted to. Part of the attraction for me was to eliminate the physical storage of music that I had to keep. You know, these CDs and albums. So I was going on this mission to convert everything to digital and get rid of the originals, keep them only in the cloud. So Google was the answer to that for me.
And so, do you listen to it a lot? I mean,
I'm not a huge music, you know, I don't listen to music all the time,
gotcha.
but when I do, I mean, and so it'll happen, you know, a couple times a week. I'll realize, hey, I haven't listened to music for a while, and I'll put music on, and then my automatic thing is music.google.com. Now I will say that when I'm out in the world, like in the U.S., I use my phone and I put music on all the time when I'm out walking on the street. If I'm just going out for a walk or for a bike ride, I'll put on the headset and I'll go for a long time with the music on. And it's great for that. Really good for that.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple comments here. Michael Thomas says the charging processes are going to bomb in all layers. I would say that that's my initial thing. I don't see people paying for YouTube. I don't think there's content. I don't think there's a premium level. I don't think there's content on there that people would pay for in mass numbers. I did.
well,
buy
I
that
mean,
one
there's
thing.
certainly is content that people will pay for in mass numbers because we know that Twitch, with their video game only site for videos, is successful. So obviously, there's content that people pay for. It's just a matter of you know, getting those people that will pay for
So
it
you have to pay for Twitch?
I, from my experience, and I don't watch many of, I don't
I don't think you have
use
to pay for
Twitch like
Twitch.
at all. But from my experience, most of the content is pay. There's subscription wars,
On Twitch.
and there certainly is free videos that you can watch. But like I said, again, just in my experience, maybe I'm just an oddball, but in my experience, a lot of people are putting up subscription wars.
Michael Thomas goes on. He says YouTube does have a lot more range than most, but I will never pay because as soon as that happens, the market will be flooded with free stuff. The monetization process has been a killer for most platforms. Does Facebook have a music monetization platform? I don't use Facebook. I don't believe they do. And I think that the main way kids get their music is YouTube, and they do so because it's free. I don't see these kids paying. I could be wrong, and you guys are saying that you both pay.
Well, I don't think the kids are going to pay. No.
Yeah, and
But
I'm
it's
not,
crazy how many people at work would. It's crazy how many people at work would just play YouTube videos on their phone like it's a music service.
What
I've always
what YouTube would have to do to make this premium service work is they'd have to take on Netflix head on, and they'd have to create some original content that's really high quality content. They'd have to get behind and support other people that are creating high quality independent content and get that on the system. And they'd have to do just like what Netflix is doing and get more premium content on there that people are willing to pay for. I mean, it hasn't happened overnight with Netflix. It's been a building process that they've been working on, and that's what YouTube would have to do.
there's no
it's
chance.
just very
Or do that.
I don't think they'll
I'm
do it
sorry.
either.
well.
Mike.
It's
I think you're right, but that's what
it's
they
just
would have
very
to do.
strange. It's very strange because they have, the movie rentals, and you can buy movies, and you can, buy TV shows or rent TV shows on, through the Play Store, and all of that is done through the back end of YouTube. I mean, if you buy a movie on the Play Store, then you go into YouTube, it's there. So it's kind of strange, like you said, Craig, that YouTube isn't paying, to have TV shows created like Netflix has, because they have
Why
that
they're
back
not
end already in
promoting-
place.
Why they're not promoting what you just said more too? Because that's a premium service. If you go into the Play Store and buy a movie and then watch it on YouTube, I mean that's a premium thing, and maybe
I
they
don't
could
know. It's
come up with a monthly.
I mean, apparently there's just a disconnect between well, I mean, I guess it's streaming either way, but the model that Netflix is using, which is a straight out pay service, and the model that YouTube is using, which at least up until this point is a straight out free service, and one's ad supported and one's subscription supported. So I don't know. I guess it kind of sounds like YouTube is trying to go more in the direction of Netflix, and you have people saying that once YouTube does that they wouldn't use YouTube anymore. But I suspect that those same people subscribe to Netflix. So
Yeah, but I think
I
it's
don't know which one is true.
possible for them to use a model that lets you opt in the same way most of the freemium models work. You have an ad-supported model, and if you don't want to see ads, you can pay a subscription and receive without an ad. That's a perfectly sensible thing that I think many people would pay for.
Or you could go the Hulu route and make people pay monthly fees and still show ads.
Yeah, which is great, right? I don't use Hulu for that reason because
It's infuriating.
I think they use way too many ads in Hulu.
Oops,
Oh,
sorry.
damn.
Okay.
There's
All right, couple comments here. Craig, Carey, if I'm off camera for a minute, please. Okay, does Jeff Stoner says he concurs. He's at Google Play, and their stations are pretty good. Michael Thomas, do you think this is why Google is separating YouTube from Google? No, that's just all their big companies are all their big components are going to separate under Alphabet. That's to please investors. Nobody checks Google Plus comments, Apple Music, the best Beats One, etc. I've had them all. I was actually getting ready to go to Google Plus comments, and that's what he said. John, right here, he says he loves Apple Music. Apple Music and Beats One are great. I got to tell you, I tried Beats One, and I know Craig did, and neither of us were at all impressed. But then I've heard other people say it's great. So, I don't know.
Do you use a music subscription service, Dan?
I use Rhapsody to Go, which I DJ'd for 20 years. And so I used Napster, not the illegal one, but when they sold the name and they became a legit streaming company, it's like $15 a month or something. And then I used, then they were purchased by Rhapsody. So I could download everything and then play it or whatever, and use it on my shows. So I didn't have to have internet connectivity. I could download anything, and then it was all DRM protected WMA files. And then if I didn't pay, they could just shut it. They would expire. So that was what I just switching is a hassle. So I just stuck with that.
I have a friend who uses Rhapsody, and he's really committed to it. I mean, he loves it.
Yeah, and just about everything I want's there. If not, there's a YouTube video, right? And there's ways to download those unofficially. Okay, so next is the latest Chrome dev build now keeps media from autoplaying in background tabs. I'm going to talk about two things on Chrome. One is in what's called the dev build, developer build, which is I guess, is there a difference between the dev and the beta, or are they the same thing?
I think there's
Yeah.
two different ones.
Okay,
think
so
that's
there's
true.
multiple versions. But in any event, the one that's not, if a consumer just goes to Chrome and gets it, it's not that one, but it's the one that usually is testing things for future release. So now if you won't have to, the first thing they did was they put the little speaker icon so you could tell, and that was genius. You could tell where the sound is coming from. And as a consumer
That's a
of news,
great
I got to hand it
option.
to the liberals more than the right wingers, because the liberal sites rarely employ autoplay crappy spam stuff, but the right wing sites really do, like Examiner and I read all kinds of stuff. But like the Washington Times and the Examiner are just terrible websites as far as spammy ads, autoplay, garbage content. So
Yeah, you're right.
that speaker was fantastic, and then now they're going to just say if you're not on that tab, there's not going to be any audio or video playing, and it's a power savings as well if you're on a laptop, right?
Yeah,
if
because
you're-
why do you want to consume power on it?
And also
And
it would
bandwidth,
consume
too.
less bandwidth. Correct. Yeah. So that's fantastic. And then the second thing is that Chrome is going to pause many Flash ads by default starting on September 1st. Now this was actually an AdWords announcement that I'm linking to. So the AdWords, most of the time, there's an auto convert feature where if you are an AdWords advertiser and you have a Flash animation thing and you're uploading it for an ad, that AdWords will typically automatically convert that to HTML5. So you'll be fine, which is more efficient, and everyone's liking HTML5. So they're saying that in many cases, if you still have a Flash content thing, and I'm getting an echo from, I'm not sure who that's from. I don't know if that's from Michael or from Anthony, but they're saying that will not, that by default that'll pause. So that's not a big deal. Any thoughts on this, on the background tab not being able to automatically create noise or video, or this?
Well, as long as you can disable it tab by tab, because I have like Google Music playing in the background, and obviously I want that playing in the background, but I probably don't want an ad playing in the background. So,
and we don't know if it will stop anything, or if it'll just prevent something that was dormant from starting. Like sometimes you'll be on 30 minutes later, an ad will start playing audio.
right.
Or these sites that switch ads, right? And that's just awful. And all the people that bitch about ad blockers and such, the sites did this to themselves because they abused, by things like autoplay audio and that sort of thing causes us, like right now, I like CNN. I like Brian Stelter a lot, and I've complained to him about CNN's new practice of having an autoplay video on virtually every story, and usually the autoplay video is not actually related. It might be vaguely related, but it's not the story. There might be a story about, let's say, something crazy Trump said today, and there'll be an autoplay video, how Donald Trump made so much money. It's not related to the story. It kind of is, but it's not the story. And why do I want to watch that garbage content? And often that is garbage content. It's some slideshow. Maybe there's music playing and just like text, like still pictures of Trump and like text, like, he inherited from his dad. His real name was this, but they changed it. And why is there even audio? Why do I have music playing with this garbage content that some entry-level intern created and it sucks? Why am I being subjected to this? Because they can run an ad. And that's the price you pay. So it's a cat and mouse game. They come up with some new thing to make money and irritate us, and we come up with a way to thwart it. And in the end, it sucks because there's less incentive you can't make any money online. GigaOm's a great example. they shut down. Although I think they just had a post or something I saw recently. Okay, so next is Google Apps. Michael Ellis will be excited to learn. Google Apps Mail now works better with Calendar. This was something that happened, I think, earlier this year with the free Gmail. And as usual, they punish their paid customers, right? And make them wait.
What was that, Dan?
So
What function was that?
I think that if I email you to your apps, I didn't read the whole thing in depth. I scanned it because it was right before I went on the show. But I think like if I emailed you, hey, let's meet at the whatever building at 7 p.m. for dinner with the new client prospect, it will automatically add that to your Google Calendar from the email. And that's a feature that is in Gmail, the free service. And
Okay.
so this is just sort of an FYI. It's kind of interesting. This would be for the paid Google Apps accounts, not the legacy free ones. Any thoughts on that? Is that something you'd find useful?
Yeah, I want them to do all those kinds of pieces of integration between everything in calendars. So I'm always happy to hear when they do more integration. In my view, that's the killer app for all of these things. It's integration between these crazy different tools. Splitting them up into multiple products to me is not the answer. The right answer is to tightly integrate them.
Excellent.
It should be, of course, it should be optional, right? I don't want them to add things to my calendar automatically. I want them to present me with the option to add something to my calendar. Like if there's text in the email that indicates there's an appointment being requested or being described, then I want a button to appear somewhere in the email that would let me automatically add it to my calendar. I don't want them
I'm
to
not
do
for
it.
these. Yeah, I'm getting sick of these. It's been for a long time. You know, are you going to the unleash the inner successful you hangout Tuesday at 7 p.m.? No, I'm not going to by somebody I don't even know who it is. There's these
Well,
garbage
I don't get those
invites, and I've got these
I don't
hangout
get those on
things.
my calendar.
I got these hangout things here. Here's one. I got 14 invites. Here's one I'm in with like 100 other people, and I don't know any of them. And I'm like, I don't want to be rude, and like, so I just let it sit there on my list. But if you leave it, then it says Dan McDermott just exited, right? And then they're like, well, what an asshole. You know what I mean? But I
You
never.
care too much about what
Yeah,
you
I
care
need
too
to be
much.
meaner. I need to be more aggressive.
Yeah,
Um,
seriously, you got to quit caring about that. I leave Hangouts all the time when I get an invitation. If I don't want to join, I just leave.
yeah.
And they have to. That means that I can't ever join unless they invite me again. The function doesn't work correctly. Hangouts is crap.
Yeah, it's garbage. Okay, so, and then let me look at the comments here. I'm checking all the comments, but it's tricky. Okay, so the one thing we can all agree on is that Google is the largest search engine on the planet. Now, how are they going to monetize their content is another subject. Flash ads are done on Google, and how they hide the close button on autoplay ads. Oh my God, you're right. Sometimes you'll click the close button, and it's so tiny it's impossible to hit on mobile. And then then you miss it, and then it goes to the advertiser. So not only are you consuming your data, I'm on Sprint, so it's unlimited, but most people are not. And not only are you consuming your data, not only are you delayed because you're loading this slow, crappy page from a third-party site, whatever the advertiser is, but the advertiser is paying for that, and the only thing that's happening for the advertiser is that you're now pissed off at the advertiser because they're wasting your time and your bandwidth. So it's worse than an ad. It's worse than paying for an
It's the
ineffective ad.
opposite.
You're paying for someone who now hates you. It's just a fail. And so we'll see what happens, because I know iOS is getting ready to implement some ad blocking technology or Apple's getting ready to implement that on iOS. We'll see what that does. Is that on Android now? Because I know that I don't see ad blocker apps. I don't see an ad blocking technology like I have in Chrome with Chrome on mobile.
There certainly is ways to block ads in Android. I'm not entirely sure if you need root access to do that or not. But yeah, there's definitely ways.
Okay. All right. So next up is developers can now import data to Google Cloud Storage by mailing in their hard drives, their tapes, and USB flash drives. This seems silly, but really it's not, because
It's not silly.
Oh
Yeah.
no, it's not silly at all.
you can.
I mean,
Go ahead.
it's a lot faster to FedEx a 100 terabyte hard drive to someplace from New York to Los Angeles than it is to upload it, and it's probably a lot cheaper too.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's probably costs you more in bandwidth than it does in postage.
I was absolutely. I was talking to Craig about I read an article years ago, probably 04, 05, 06, something like that, when I got my a Canon 1D Mark IIm, and I was reading about this guy who was a Sports Illustrated photographer, and he would be sent to a game. Let's say he was doing, Troy Aikman or whoever, and then the guy would be sent to just cover one specific player the whole game. So he had several cameras with various glass on them, so he could quickly, if the guy was close, he would quickly switch to this camera, and then if the guy's far away, he'd switch. And then after the shoot, because we're talking like he was a big dollar major photographer, probably maybe a cover photo or some big full page thing, he would actually immediately drive to the airport, and they would send his cards on the plane so that Sports Illustrated could get them quickly. And we're not far removed from that, really, because I think they said in the article, 1 terabyte of data was 100 days to upload in one example that they cited.
Right.
So FedEx is faster than that. I don't know if the U.S. Postal Service is faster than 100 days, but FedEx is faster, sure.
That's unfair. That's the old post office. The image
That
you're
was a
portraying
dig.
is the old post office.
That was a dig. So there. Okay.
So can I tell you about
Yeah.
something related to that? This
Go
is
ahead.
the model that has worked before. There's when we were in previous years when we would do system conversions, even from compatible systems where the software was the same, the computer was the same, but the tape drives were incompatible because a customer had gone for an extended number of years without switching systems, because you can. So they would have all of their backup tapes would be an old format that the new system couldn't support, or they would have to buy an old tape drive to plug into the new system just for the purpose of conversion. So services developed where you could send your tapes off to a firm, and they would convert them to a new tape format for you. And it was a perfectly sensible business model, and it worked great. So you could turn them around. In a weekend of conversion, Friday night you could courier your backup tapes from Friday night's backup away, have them converted on Saturday, and they'd be back in your hands Saturday night, so you could load them onto the new computer system.
Excellent. All right. Okay, so next is Google cops to secret recruiting tool baked inside search. This is interesting. So some guy, he was on Google, he was trying to figure out some Python script or something, so he did some cryptic to us, but to a Python user or coder, it would not be. And Google detected that they had he was speaking their language, and they literally said, "Hey, you're speaking our language. Why don't you try this puzzle?" And so they suggested, right in Google search, that he go to this thing, and he did the puzzle, and he passed successfully. And they suggested that he apply for a job, and he was hired in 3 months. So that clearly would be, that's clearly anti-competitive, I guess, because they're not going to refer you to Microsoft or Facebook for a job. But that's smart.
It's not anti-competitive.
I'd love to be able to know. everyone in a 30-mile radius who's like, man, I really need a new sales job or a new writing job. I'd love to find that, because it's hard to hire people. It's hard to find people. But that's smart.
Yeah,
That's funny. What'd you think about that?
but that's a form of advertising. Why couldn't, I mean, that's like the classic use for classified ads is for jobs. Why couldn't Google, if they could get their act together on local discovery, why couldn't Google be hugely in the matching people to job postings? That's a completely good fit for a search company.
Well, they do in a way. If you search for, man, I'm really need a new engineering job or sales job or something, I'm sure you'll get AdWords that adjacent to the search results that would be paid. So I'm sure they do that. But it was just basically their internal building this into the search engine. So I think that was kind of creative and fun. And then the last story we have, Comcast is shooting for gigabit deployment within 2 to 3 years. This is really interesting. There's the new, I forget what it's called. It's a new technology that would allow up to 10 gigabits per second over coax. And they're getting ready to convert. And they said that initially to do 10 gigabits, you have to really, your network has to be laid out a certain way, and you have to have the right equipment. It has to be very efficient. And they said that they're shooting to have an offering of 1 gigabit for all their customers. I think they have like 22 million households within 2 years. That's their goal. So maybe 3
Who
years.
is it?
But Comcast. Comcast.
Wow.
They're shooting to offer gigabit within 2 years to all of their customers. So obviously, I would be very excited about that. I'm a Comcast business customer, and I have 50-10. I have 50 down and 10 up, and it's very reliable. And it really is 50. I've done testing. I've said this on the show before. I've actually taken large data files, gigabytes, and uploaded them for a length of time, and then downloaded them to Google Drive or Dropbox or whatever, and timed and converted, the gigabytes to megabits per second. And I get, and then I did a speed test from speedtest.net, and that is, people say, oh, they just game that. They know if you're doing a test and they make it faster than it really is. No, it's accurate, at least in my case, because the speed test result said I was getting like 54, 56 down, like 11 or 12 up. And then I took like a 4 gigabyte file. It was one of these shows, local recording of it. And I uploaded it, and it was uploading at 53 megabits per second. And then downloaded, or at 12, and then downloaded it at 53. So I would be very ecstatic. I think they currently offer for $300 a month 2 gigabits in some areas where they have fiber. So I'm sure it's not going to be $50 a month for your gigabit. It's going to be pricey, but I think it's exciting. And this again gets into one of my earlier topics was about, are we going to see YouTube Live offer 4K streaming? And Anthony, maybe you can answer this question because you're in that demo more so than Michael and I are. But is 4K gaming a thing? And do you think that at some point Twitch and or YouTube Live is going to offer a 4K YouTube Live capability to accommodate the gamers that will, of course, translate, as most things do, to folks like me who do shows and would love to have a 4K ability and have the upload bandwidth to do it?
I have to be careful about what I say because I'm a console gamer. I don't play many games on the PC. But on the console, it definitely is not a thing yet. I don't even think, if I'm remembering correctly, I don't even think the consoles are capable of doing 4K. But I definitely know none of the current games are in 4K. I'm sure that the PC has games that are in 4K, but I mean, everyone wants content to be in. Well, I should correct myself. Not everyone, but a lot of people want the highest video quality that they can get. So, but I don't think that gaming is there yet. I mean, people don't even have 4K TVs yet, for the most part. So to talk about, certainly console gaming on with TVs. We're just not there yet.
Okay. It'll be interesting to see. What do you think? Michael, I'm sure you've seen 4K, haven't you, in a Walmart or Costco or something?
I've seen the displays. Yeah, the video quality is amazing.
It's stunning. It's like
Yeah.
it's like 4 times as good. It reminds me of when they
Less
first
than-
rolled out HD, right? And in Costco, you'd see, landscapes and wildlife and a cheetah running through the, because there was no actual content that was in HD, right? So
Right.
they'd have all this crap. They couldn't just tune it to a 4K station or HD station back then. And so we'll see. Yeah, I think there's like a smattering of shows on Prime and Netflix you can watch in 4K, and YouTube you can, but it'll be interesting to see. So Michael Ellis, how was your Google Plus week, sir?
Very good. I'm back in Germany and settled back in after a long run around the United States. So I'm happy to be back here and working and doing my thing. All is good.
All right, excellent. And Anthony Klauser, how was your week?
Yeah, I mean, it was good. Nothing, nothing exciting. Typical week, actually. But this must be like the fastest show that you've done in a long time, if not the fastest show you've done.
You guys are not loquacious, so
Well, Pam isn't here and Alan's not here.
yes, they are.
And Craig
loquacious.
didn't do much fighting, so
I don't know
all
where
good.
Craig went. Where'd Craig go?
I don't know. He dropped. I think he might have had a problem because he didn't say goodbye.
Yeah, it's weird. We finally found the weird thing about Craig.
Yeah. Boy, that was hard.
We always try to talk about our guests.
Oh, you know what?
Hmm.
Windows 10.
Yeah,
No,
yeah. Tell us about
I
that.
refused. I refused to upgrade to Windows 8 or even 8.1. A lot of out of principle, but also because it's the Windows Vista, Windows Me of Windows this time around. But I did a clean install of Windows 10. And first of all, you can't do that. I mean, it lets you do it, but you can't do that because it will install, but it won't activate. So there's that. So I ended up having to reinstall Windows 7 just to upgrade to Windows 10.
Serious?
And yeah, now it's just stupid. It's just so stupid.
That's crazy.
Now that I've done an
Windows can't be trusted to do upgrades.
right. Well, here's why. I mean, it's just stupid to begin with, but here's why it's even more stupid. So now that I've upgraded from Windows 7 or Windows 8, whichever one you happen to have, to Windows 10, now that it's activated, now I can do a clean install. So if you want to have a clean install of Windows 10, you have to do an upgrade first before you can do a clean install.
Well, then
So-
that makes perfect sense.
So what's going on here is that Windows 10 is taking the product key from the previous version of Windows and it's converting it to a Windows 10 key. So I contacted Windows support and I said, "Gee, I can prove to you that I have Windows 7 because I have the Windows 7 product key. Can you just monkey around the system and give me a Windows 10 key?" And he's like, "No." And I was pretty pissed off and went and reinstalled Windows 7 at that point.
Did you
upgraded
go?
to Windows
Okay.
10.
Did you get the invite? Because I have invites on my computers that say you can upload or upgrade for free, or did you go seeking it out before you got that?
No, I got the upgrade notice months and months and months ago.
Did you use that as your method to try to do it, or did you just minimize that and then go to the site later?
Yeah, I originally I went to the to the system icon to get it. System icon. That makes no sense.
I mean, you went.
Yeah, I went to
So
the
you went
system
on your
icon.
computer to a thing saying, "Hey, you can upgrade for free. Click here," and it still wouldn't let you. It wanted you to put stuff in.
Right.
Why wouldn't
Yeah.
it know? Why would it give you that? Why wouldn't it know?
I don't understand.
It doesn't make any
you
sense.
I know it doesn't make any sense. I mean, you can make the argument that it wants to give you the capability to clean install once you have activated it, and that much makes sense. What doesn't make sense is that it should know that you haven't upgraded yet, so it should make you upgrade before it gives you the ability to clean install. It should say, okay, you can upgrade right now, or it should have a clean install grayed out and say you can't clean install until you've upgraded. That would have saved me hours of wasted time. I mean, I still haven't done. I still want to do the clean install of Windows 10, but I just don't have the patience at the moment to do it. You know.
I bought my computer. My God, I don't know how many years ago. I got it. It's an HP from Costco, and then this thing was a Dell, and this is a Sony from Costco. So I have no clue where any of that shit is. I don't have the original discs. I mean, and Microsoft has moved. This is an answer to like I don't know how prevalent it is for people to have illegal copies of Windows 7 in the United States. I know it's big, like in China and some other countries. So they're trying to battle that. And Windows is moving to a model where you kind of buy Windows and then future things are over. Like this is the first time I know of where it wasn't in a box. Isn't it? I mean, they're going to move to a thing where you just have Windows and just like Chrome updates or apps on your phone update. You don't have to like uninstall and reinstall. Windows is going to become like that. And so I don't know why they're being such sticklers for this. They're going to make their money from apps.
And I want to say that I like Windows 10. I like it. I just don't like the hassle of this upgraded clean install thing. It's just messy.
Did you like 8?
I didn't use 8.
Okay,
I mean,
so you
other
went
than
from
touching
7.
it for like 30 seconds at a time.
You're just going from 7 to 10.
Yeah, I went from 7 to 10 basically straight.
I think 8 I've heard was good if you are really into your touch laptop.
Right, and I mean this can be. I mean, it when you install Windows 10 by default, and like I said, I'm going from 7 to 10. So maybe if you're going from 8 to 10, it's different. But it's the traditional Windows feel. It's not the tablet feel that Windows 8 had when you did a clean install. So you have your start menu, and you got some of those tiles in the start menu, but you're not facing the tiles in the in the desktop view, which you can turn that on, but it's not there. It's not staring you in the face from the moment you install it.
I've always thought that, and I've said this before, I thought Microsoft Windows versions were like Star Trek movies. Every other one was good, and except for the diehard fans, they liked them all. And the thing that intrigues me is their move toward apps that are like for everything, all the different versions. It's a shame that their Windows Phone is so shitty, because it would be neat to see another competitor besides Android and iOS getting some traction, because BlackBerry is all but dead except for Enterprise. And it'd be interesting to see Windows Phone, and I still don't see the ability because of the screen size and because of the processing ability, the notion of apps on a mobile device or a tablet being anything like a desktop. A tablet, perhaps. And in the case of their Surface Pro, the same. But like the
one thing,
I don't care how good, like for example, and then I'll go back to you, Anthony. I don't care how good Adobe can make their Photoshop app for iOS or for Android. It's still I don't give a shit how good Photoshop can get on the mobile device. It's going to be 0.00001% of what desktop Photoshop can do. There's no comparison at all. Anthony, go ahead.
Right. And so I just wanted to touch on the App Store, the Windows App Store for a second. It's it. I like the App Store. I like that you can just search for things and it's, you know, easy to install things from, you know, with a few clicks, and I like that. I find it very strange though that once you have installed something, so like, you know, I'm looking at Netflix, which I've installed. There's no uninstall option. You still have to go to the uninstall part in the control panel
Are you
to
talking Windows 10?
remove these programs. Windows 10.
Okay.
So like if you were using Android and you installed an app, you'd have the button that says open like you do in the Windows Store, but also in Android you have the uninstall button. So you can just easily uninstall it. In Android, you can also go to, you know, into your settings and uninstall apps that way. But in Windows, in the Windows App Store, there's no uninstall button to click, and I just think that's strange.
Michael Ellis, I had forgotten how prominently Anthony pronounces his T's, like button. Have you noticed how prominently he pronounces his T's? I'd forgotten that. I'm trolling you, Anthony.
It's probably an upstate New York thing.
Yeah, I'm guessing. There's more to upstate New York than
There are
Wegmans.
parts of New York where the T's disappear altogether.
There's more than Wegmans and Kodak in upstate New York. There's
Right.
Anthony Clouser and the whole Clouser clan. They're all tall. Who's taller between you two? Aren't you just absurdly tall, Anthony?
What, like 6'2"?
What are you, Michael?
Just a hair under 6'0".
Oh, okay. I'm the only short person on the show. I'm 5'7".
You're
Okay.
5 foot?
Huh?
Nothing.
I'm as tall as Jon Stewart, and he's cool. As has-beens go, Jon Stewart's pretty cool, right?
Right.
Okay, so
That puts you in the list of spins that are pretty cool.
yeah. So I'm gonna look at comments real quick here because John busted my balls for not paying attention to Google Plus comments. So I'm gonna do those first. It's hard because we don't have this thing. We used to have this great app that pulled everything from YouTube, from multiple pages, any post, and any reshare of that post, and Google Plus killed it. Again, Google forced all the YouTube users to adopt Google Plus. They force anybody monetizing a video to adopt their newest thing. The only people not adopting it is Google. Why don't they? All right, so I see here a comment. Thanks. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you for that comment. From and then I see, let's see here on the page. Yeah, they're on the profile on YouTube. I'm actually looking at the video. I got the video paused here with Craig on the screen. Right, that's pretty scary. Let me see here. So Windows, okay, sometimes it's forward and sometimes it's back. So, okay, Michael Thomas, and that's very sounded. I was in a Blab platform the other day, and all the peeps using Comcast couldn't participate at all. That's interesting. I happen to be in a rural area, and I have Comcast Business. I'm probably the only person who does in this area where I live. I mean, when I say area, like, you know, within a 5-mile radius. So I have like really reliable service. Maybe I'm an exception, but I'm reluctant to move for that reason, among others, that I'm living in a beautiful forest and have a state park next door to me. Jeff Stoner, how long do you think they'll bring it to the Shenandoah Valley, Dan? I don't know. Hopefully soon. They said the whole thing. I don't know if we're in the... One of the problems, Jeff, with Comcast is Comcast grew big by buying other companies. As you probably remember, they bought Adelphia, which was our internet service provider. And often when you call the customer service, when they've recently bought a system, they have to like log into this other system to answer your question, and it's just this kludgy thing. That's been a big problem Comcast has dealt with, because they've grown not by just expanding their existing thing like McDonald's does, right? They just build a new building, but they're buying, like if McDonald's bought Burger King or bought Taco Bell, and it's like, whoa, you know, we got to figure out how the hell they do these taco things. That's kind of how Comcast grew. So that's been an Achilles heel for them to a degree. Michael Thomas says, well, maybe if Comcast does that, then AT&T can finally get the fiber optic game on the road. LOL. Michael Thomas, so Windows 7 complements Windows 10. Anthony, does Windows 7 complement Windows 10?
Yeah, I mean, again, I haven't used Windows 8, but I think Windows 10 complements both Windows 7 and Windows 8. I feel like it took, you know, the best of Windows 7, and it took that one thing that was good in Windows 8, and it put them together, and you got Windows 10. But that's basically what they do every time. You know, they take like Windows 98 and Windows 95. I don't know. But yeah, like every other operating system, version of the operating system, like you said, Dan, is just a bad one, and then the next one is, you know, cleaning up the last one and improving on the one before the last one.
8 especially so, which is why they killed. They didn't even use the name 9. It was like a total mea culpa. That's funny. A couple other comments here on YouTube. No wonder Windows 10 tried to download itself onto my system, says Michael Thomas. It won't let you activate it, he says. So can you imagine how pissed off you'd be if you were like a DSL or a dial-up user or something in one of these beautiful scenic mountain homes you paid, you know, 800 grand for, and you have shitty internet, and you can never sell your home because nobody will buy it because you have shitty internet. And so you're like, oh my God. And you download it, you know, you set, you know, midweek, you know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to download Windows 10, and then it won't let you activate it. Oh my God. Anyway, okay, my week was fun. It was a good off week. I'm decluttering our little office, and I ran across some Netflix DVDs. Also ran across an AOL DVD. No shit. So I got these, actually 2 Star Trek movies, The Wrath of Khan and Star Trek: The Motion Picture from '79, right? So I got these, honest to God, and I got the envelopes, right? These are, to return them, these are from, I guess, 2010 or 2011. These are actual, like, 4-year-old, they've been sitting here. I'm still paying, like, what is it, $8 a month? What's the DVD portion for 2 DVDs on Netflix? Whatever that is, I pay that every month for 4 years. And these are my 2 DVDs, and I haven't watched them because they're on Amazon, and I just don't care. So I've been paying this.
So you're still paying for the DVD delivery service, and you can't ask for more DVD because you still got the 2 in your hands.
Because I don't use it. So I'm paying like $90 a year for 4 or 5 years. So I paid like $500 for these 2 DVDs, and I still have to give them back. And that's highway robbery. But that's funny. So exactly. I need to call them up and see if these envelopes will still work, first of all. Ironically, they're going to Roanoke.
You could have driven them there by now.
I could have walked in 4 years to Roanoke.
Right.
And then this other thing, the kid was in his truck, and he found a DVD in the player, right? And he said, man, I found this DVD. It was terrible. This old DVD. I said, yeah, every time you get a used vehicle, there's always a cassette tape or a DVD or CD or something, right? In the player. They forget. That's like, you know, the roll of toilet paper in the apartment. And so I said, yeah. So he said, yeah, it's like this hippie music. I said, what do you mean, hippie music? He said it was terrible. I couldn't listen. I tried listening for like 2 songs. It was like this weird hippie shit. I couldn't listen to it. I was like, what was it? And he showed it to me. It's Simon and Garfunkel, their live concert in New York City from 1967. This is his.
That's such a great concert.
Oh my God. I was like, what are you talking about, hippie music? And then I thought, you know, I could see a 19-year-old. Yeah, I could see, you know what I mean? Some of their weird stuff. And I was like, what about, like, you know, Where Have You Gone, Joe DiMaggio? You know, he was really pissed about that. And, like, like a bridge over troubled water. And I don't know if those songs I don't know when they wrote those and what, this was 67, but hippie music. And it was so terrible. It's funny.
That's
But
some
then,
of the
to
very
be
best
fair,
music ever written.
yeah, it's one of the great, I mean, my God. But he listens to this, like, I think it's called death metal. It's like weird
Yeah.
stuff that wouldn't even make the side stage at Ozfest, right? And I've actually been to Ozfest 2 or 3 times, just so you know. And each time I recognized a third of what Ozzy sang and maybe 1 or 2 other songs the whole day. My ex-fiance dragged me to Ozfest. So anyway, other than that, my week's been great. So thanks to Craig and Anthony and Michael for hanging out with us. Alan couldn't be here because he wasn't sure. He's got some chaotic schedule today. He's like, I may be able to make it. I'm not sure when. I checked with him. I said, do you have an ETA? He's like, I have no ETA. He was like in a panic or whatever. So, okay. And then Pam and Cy were at a restaurant and they tried to make it. But as I said, a 1,206 millisecond ping is bad. There's no sugarcoating that. So
I
they
saw
were
the
unable.
comments.
Yeah.
They would be up joined based on the speed they had.
So anyway, I'm just doing a last minute check. So John Jensen doesn't beat me up. For Google Plus comments, I see none. I see none with the page. Let me check the YouTube. There's 2 places I have to check. There's okay. So Windows 7 no wonder Windows 10 tried to download itself onto my system. Windows 8 is junk, Anthony. Michael Thomas says, and he yelled it just like that. It's junk. I tell you, junk. Hey, thank you all for watching. We appreciate it. Google Plus Week is every Friday around 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific on Google Plus, YouTube Live, and gaming.youtube. Just kidding, not really. Anyway, thank you for watching. We appreciate it. Thanks to the panel. And until next time, have an epic, awesome, badass Google Plus Week. We'll see you Friday.